Alright, I've got the stream loaded. It's in our starting stream little fucking window deal, so we'll be popping here in a second. Oh, much better. Yeah, it takes away from your hair.
Yeah, the hair's a lot.
Alright, let's see. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Outstanding. Let's freaking do this.
I'm gonna keep forgetting to push the talk.
Trust me, it happens all the time. Alright, cool. Looks like our shit's live on Twitch. Make sure you put that out to all your friends. Twitch.tv/MindClashLive. Make sure they're all tracking, and we're doing it. Alright, so what's up, everybody? My name is Kale Decadence, the one and the only host for right now. I don't know where my other hosts are. They're doing baby things on baby duty. That's fine, not a big deal. But with me tonight, I've got some wonderful, wonderful guests. I even got video of other guests, which is always great, always great. Yeah, so with me tonight, we'll go from the top to the bottom. Jenna, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, outstanding. Yeah, so real quick, just give an introduction of who you are, what you do, and who you fly with in game.
Yeah, so my name is Jetta Sozik. I fly with North Continent Trade. We're a regional space transportation group, and yeah, we've been active for about a year. Real heavy in the Canada region and pushing like domain and Tashmark merchandise around the space.
Outstanding. And let's see, up next, Daniel.
Hey.
Hey.
Vistalius, part of Shadow State, which is a part of Goonswarm Federation. I FC for them, and I do corporate logistics and building.
Kale, you're in the lobby, and what's his name's not on?
Fuck my balls. You see why I need you here, Meridud? Are you gonna be part of this shenanigans?
Let me speak to my baby.
Don't speak to the baby.
I had to pop in and say hi, though, especially because Daniel's here. Hey, Daniel.
What's up, Meridud? Long time no see.
Yeah, good.
That's fine. I'll edit that shit in later because I'm a professional.
Fucking Craig. Fuck that guy. I'll be here next week, Kale, for one.
Oh, for the 100th episode?
Yeah.
How sweet.
I'll make that time.
Oh. Alright, so where were we? Daniel. Did we already do you?
Yeah, I'm part of the premier Goonswarm Federation corporation known as Shadow State.
Hey, I know those guys.
Yep. I do FCing for the Alliance, and on a corporate level, I do logistics and building.
Right on. Next, we've got the nearly infamous, almost famous Jared Dale from Jared Dale's Hauling Services.
What's up? I'm Jared Dale. I really don't fly with anybody. I got my own corp I just created. I got a few dudes in it doing some hauling services.
I mean, I wouldn't say that you don't fly with anybody. I mean, you've got quite a little fan base, so don't hold back, my friend.
Well, I haven't had anyone fly with me yet. I mean, they might be flying behind me trying to chase me down, but not with me.
Right on. But we'll get into what it is that you do. But last but not least, Tupac Shakur. No, not Tupac Shakur. It's Tupac Ice.
Yeah, g'day. I'm one of the Haulers channel mods. I fly with Red Frog, Black Frog, and do a lot of the, I guess, just public contracts in and around the place.
Right on. So if you guys haven't figured it out by now, what we're going to be talking about is space trucking, which surprisingly got a lot more interest as far as people wanting to watch or listen and be a part of this than I thought. So it's pretty good deal that I got some excellent people here to join us. So we'll just kind of get right into that. First and foremost, I thought of this idea because I saw Jared Dale was blowing up all over Reddit, although Reddit is dead right now apparently. But yeah, so Jared, you started doing this thing, and you're talking a little bit before the show started, where you just decided, hey, I want to do some hauling. I'm going to put it on Twitch, and see what happens. So what did happen?
Well, I got like over 2,000 views on a clip of me being upset about two contracts expiring. It's pretty outstanding. I was not expecting that. And in the first hour of me streaming, I gained like 160 followers. It was crazy.
Oh wow, that is pretty crazy. So from what I've seen on Reddit so far, like you pretty much started with Galente haulers. I saw you were an Occutter for a while, and now you've actually moved up to Obelisk, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't pulled it out yet because I still need to get like a Weber. All everyone's telling me to get. I'm not sure how to like properly use it because like I don't understand the whole dueling aspect. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, maybe one of these smart guys can tell you all about it, because I also have not figured that out. I've read about it, I've seen it, but I don't know how to do it. But yeah, so what made you want to get into space trucking, man?
Honestly, I was like in school, right? And we're looking for careers, and like one of them it said logistics and transport, and I looked at Eve like in my Steam library. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try it out.
Right on. And you just fucking did it. Well, that's cool, man. That's good. You've been playing for a little while, or when did you actually start playing?
Well, I mean, the day I started playing was like a day or two before I actually made that Reddit post. Like I started playing in like 2014. I was gonna do faction warfare, but I just like never got into it, and I stopped playing it, and just haven't touched it till recently.
Oh, that's crazy, man. Yeah, so you're relatively new, but it's a good thing that we have some salty old veterans here to help you along your way. We have Jenna is from North Canid. What is it? North Canid Traders. So what is it you guys do up in Northern Canid?
So basically, what we mostly do is move low density markets to Amar or Jita. What that basically means is that we'll pick up minerals that miners will sell pretty cheap because they're too lazy to take it to Amar or a trade hub. And yeah, we'll make a profit off of that. We also do contract and moving stuff for people.
Okay, so is it mostly low sec, high sec?
We try to stay in high sec, but we do dip into low sec occasionally. Usually, we'll use covert transports and stuff like that, like blockade runners. I think that's what they're called now. We'll use blockade runners and stuff like that to move some items from low sec into high sec.
Okay, and for people who might not know, I kind of understand. So I know you have deep space transports, and then you have blockade runners. So as far as Galente goes, I want to say that the Occutter is the deep space transport, and the Viator is the blockade runner. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's the Tech ones that are like the Iteron 1 through 5. I think they've changed the names for the Iteron, so I don't remember.
Kinda, yeah.
But there's the Tech ones that are pretty easy to get into, and then the Tech 2 are more they're more beneficial, especially for hauling. And if you don't, and they're actually more cost efficient than flying around in a freighter. That's mainly because there's a lot of freighters don't have a lot of what do you call it, resistance, whereas deep space transports you can resist pretty heavily, and blockade runners can fit a covert cloak, so they can go through, especially in low sec, they can go through gate camps and stuff like that fairly easy.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about how to get through those gate camps, because I know when I used to live in wormholes, I would make some crazy little trips back and forth out of the wormhole through null and low and all the way up to high sec, and you know, sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't, but there's ways of getting around that. Now, Daniel, so you are part of the infamous Goon Swarm, kind of. So you do some transporting for them specifically, or do you do transportation for all of New Eden?
It's just mostly for the corporation. Here and there, maybe some alliance stuff, but it's mostly for the corp.
Okay, yeah. See, I once upon a time thought that I could actually do something like that. So on one of my alts, I've actually trained up to an obelisk as well. But I mostly kind of just do it to ferry around my shit. I build some secret capital ships here and there in low sec. So mostly for my own fun and adventure, just so I can figure out how to do it. But I got to move those parts somehow, and those parts are big. Capital parts are big, so I move those parts all by my lonesome in an obelisk around low sec from time to time. Probably not safe. All right, so Tupac, what about you? What is it you do as far as freighting and trucking?
So I guess all of the things. So I guess right now my main thing would be jump freighting. So running that for Black Frog or PushX, or indeed, I guess like private dudes. But DSTs through to normal freighters as well. A fair swag at the time for Red Frog or whatever. And I guess I started 4.5 years ago hauling, and I feel like these Reddit posts of late are like my spirit animal from when I started, 4 or 5 years ago.
Right on. Yeah, so there is, all these different various services. There's, PushX, and then the various frogs are pretty much under one entity. I know it's like Red Frog, Black Frog, and Green Frog. Is that correct?
Uh,
Are they like the same people or not really? Hello. Tupac, did we lose you? Did Tupac just die?
can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can hear you. Oh, Tupac's alive.
Yay! No, so Red Frog, 1.5 bill, high sec, freighter movement stuff, pretty run of the mill. Black Frog is your more expensive stuff, or indeed your low sec, null sec, some sov. You'd have to have a bit of a look. Certainly, Red and Black Frog are, I guess, call it your premium service if you like. And then your haulers channel is also a really good option for public contracts to move at a better price, I would say.
Okay. All right, so I kind of have a few questions that I was hoping to cover. I know we got some new freighters or some new pilots that are here. We got some old pilots, not old but veterans. So question number one is, when would you decide not to haul something? When should you just leave something behind? And when is it important enough where you need to find a service to ship your shit?
I guess I'll throw my hat in. It's quite funny. I tend to not haul a lot of my own stuff and pay people to do it, but then I'm more than willingly move other people's stuff for risk. So generally, if your stuff's in low sec, null sec, and you don't have access to your jump freighters and you're not comfortable with the DST, paying someone else to do it is far safer. The collateral system is a very handy mechanic for the person that owns the stuff. But then at the same time, if you're a hauler with some good skill points and some good understanding of those mechanics, you can make some good dollars. At the risk of the collateral, if you like, moving that stuff.
Yeah, as someone who's had to evac several times, it just depends. It really comes down to ISK per M3. So, for instance, if you're a industrialist and you have to move out minerals, you gotta leave the tritium pyrite because it's just not worthwhile to move. And you either fire sell it or you just leave it there until the new person comes to own the sub and you can sell it off to them.
Yep, I'm familiar with that. I had to do that when we evac'd out of CO2 space when CO2 fell to the Great Judgment Day. But I did do some crazy wild shit. I actually had a Thanatos at the time, and I had already had in my mind that we were going to evac, so I loaded my Thanatos up full of stuff. I was actually out in the field. I'm in the Army, and I was in the field during that time, so I couldn't evac with everybody else. But when I got back, I was able to scout out a wormhole chain, and I flew that bitch through 5 wormholes by myself. No alts. I just scouted it out, and then went back, logged in to my main, and went through 5 holes in the Thanatos from all the way from scary nullsec into the closest lowsec I could find. So I've done some weird shit like that. Probably not the best advice. I'm giving terrible advice tonight.
It's probably safer doing that than it is flying a freighter through your demo on the Azure at the moment, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't have access to a jump freighter, you can also insurance fraud a lot of your ships.
Hmm.
So if you've got just random T1 battleships or T1 cruisers, you get most of your value back if you just insurance fraud it.
Right.
But don't you have to pay money for insurance though? Doesn't like that take a giant cost of how much you would be getting?
It's still worthwhile if
Yeah.
you do the math. If you platinum insure it, you still get more out
Yeah. I
than if you
mean,
had just left it at bronze.
yeah. You either leave it and lose it, or you're gonna lose a few bucks, but at least you get something out of it.
You never know when you might need it again though.
That's true. I do have a tendency to leave stuff where they are. You never know.
I'm just saying, if you need the cash and for some reason you have to evac, just saying the stuff you want to leave behind is stuff like that and how to get your money back.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about, there's all the different Frog freighter services, but one of the reasons I really couldn't really get into jump freighting and doing hauling myself was because sometimes you look at all these contracts that you see. So you open up your contracts window and you see like what is available, what's out there, and you see some really fishy, suspect stuff where you're putting down, I don't know, 1.5 billion in collateral, but the end item you're looking at costing like a couple million to 100 million. So it doesn't really even out in your head, considering you just paid 1.5 billion for your obelisk, and it's in some shady little station that you may or may not be able to dock into. And what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I guess the most common hauling scams at the moment are definitely that, buying stuff that you can't get into. But I guess more common would be, your collateral scams where things are valued much less than what the collateral is. Ones that go into low-sec or into incursion, like null-sec incursion, low-sec incursion systems, or indeed citadels. Citadels can be super fishy if you're looking at contracts.
Yeah, I think one of the big indicators, obviously, if you're looking through the contracts and you're just searching without any keywords or whatever, and you can start seeing the same names over and over again, or you see relatively similar, pretty much exact M3 and exact contract price. So, I mean, how do you know when you're looking at this stuff? Should I haul this? Is this not a good deal?
So,
I mean, I don't want to take any trade secrets here.
I think he cut out again.
Tupac, no.
this phone is terrible. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely look at their contract history. So in their little information thing, you can have a look there. And people that tend to have failed contracts a lot probably don't haul for them. But at the same time, it's easy for someone to just create an alt and do that sort of stuff. So you got to be too good to be true. Check the route. Always check the route. And then are you the old? Are you willing to fly that down that route for that price? Can you undock it? Can you replace it if you lose it? Sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll second that, especially the route, because there's a lot of high sec pockets that are actually stuck in low sec. So it looks like you're going from a high sec to a high sec, but you're actually going through a pretty heavy death zone.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that kind of shadows what Pittsburgh is saying in the chat. That check on the kill board, see who's getting killed where. If you see a group like Mini Love, kind of avoid that. Also, probably avoid groups like Code that are looking to bump some miners and haulers. But if you, let's say you take this deal, you're like, oh, I've got to do this haul, I'm going to take it, and you find yourself in a sticky wicket, if you will. What are some steps you may or may not want to take to get out of that?
So me personally, I mean, it depends on the meters cubed, right? Because that's going to dictate what size ship. You obviously want to take the most optimum. So if it's less than your 12,000, 13,000, you could probably do it in a blockade runner. They're super zippy, and it's all about insta undocks, cloaking when you move, all that sort of good stuff. Making sure you get decloaked or bubbled. Your blockade runner is your next one up. The cloak micro warp drive trick, which I'm sure anyone here could talk about, is honestly amazing. Insta docks again, insta undocks all the time. Then you start getting into more dangerous territory when you start moving, your 10 bill jump freighter with the collateral, or your T1 freighter. And in those cases, things like outsinos, things like webbing, things like reconnaissance with a scout, and things like that are very important. But again, all of those things can be beaten by some pretty savvy gankers out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the tricks that I know people like to, not for getting out of, but people that like to actually get those freighters and get the miners is by bumping. So I was told I needed to ask you guys about bumping. What's your thoughts on it? How does this interfere with your capability to move throughout space?
Well, I haven't experienced it yet, but I've seen videos of people like they would just like ram your ship and it would like throw you off of the align. Like you're trying to align, it just starts making you like shake back and forth and you can't align, then you're just stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I've been bumped. I don't even know how many times. So bumping, and this is my opinion. It is a relevant part of the gameplay. I think right now, as it stands, it lacks interaction. So, and what I mean by that is, ISK is all about risk per risk, if you like, and also about player interaction. It's a multiplayer game. I think right now the mechanic for a freighter in high sec, if you get bumped, you have limited options, and it goes back to what the guys were saying before about how the DST's got all these sort of options. It's the freighter is an inflexible beast, and if you get bumped, the current mechanics will not allow you to interact back with that bumper. You've just got to bump until he stops or kills you with the current mechanics. There are some, I would say, dodgy or novel ways to get out of it, but they're very fleeting and can be easily countered. Yeah, it's a thing, I guess.
Can you, just out of curiosity, can you web warp yourself out of a bump, or
No. So the problem with the web warp is that the way bumping works is it increases your speed above your maximum velocity out of your align. So even if you're webbed, your maximum speed, which is your now web speed, is still over speed and out of align. So it won't work. And arguably, it can make it easier for the bumper because it's easier to bump you, and it will be easier for the gank squad, which generally have short range, to get close to you. So sometimes once you're bumped, webbing's not the best option. There are a bunch of different options out there, and I'm happy to talk about them. You could attempt to get an alt forward of that ship more than 150 kilometers and try and get a warp. The bumpers are very good at keeping you off that align, but it's certainly an option. You can, of course, bring a bunch of bros to come and rep you and hope that you can out tank or out rep the DPS. That's harder and harder with the number of alpha gankers these days. Or you can be crazy. You can try and get a DST in there and start moving the loot from the freighter into DSTs and getting rid of them. Again, fraught with danger, time consuming, a little bit exciting if it works. There's a few options there, but it is very difficult once the bump has commenced for the freighter to unbump, if you like, or get out of that.
Yeah, I actually had a situation once when I was hauling out of the wormhole in Orca, and Jitta was the closest place. I had a bunch of robotics and stuff I wanted to sell, and as soon as I got through the Jitta gate and started aligning to 4-4, somebody bumped me and then started holding me down with some webs and trying to hold me for ransom. I know this is a tactic that is used, so it was holding me for ransom for a little bit until they wanted me to give them money. I didn't have the money, and even if I did, I wasn't going to give it up, so I said, I don't really have time for this, and I just logged off. And surprisingly, that actually worked for me. I logged off, and like the next day I came back on, and I was just re-warping back to 4-4. You guys ever done any like crazy shit like that?
I got a couple of stories like that. So yeah, the way that works, right, is providing you have no aggression timer, which we could talk about, but providing you have no aggression timer, regardless of being bumped, you will be warped to somewhere. What is it like? Is it like a 1 AU or something? I can't remember. It's like a distance away off grid, right? And then you'll sit there until whatever timer exists, your 30 seconds or your 15 minutes, and then you'll log out of the game. So that's certainly an option. A lot of the Mecharials that bump will have combat probes. So if you're in a system with not too many big ships, it could be easy to find you. But if you're in Jita, you might be able to get away with it, I guess. What you'll see is a lot of the time they'll use an Ibis or something throwaway to get it. But I guess I've got a good story. Once I accidentally moved a bunch of stuff to the wrong Jita 4-4, and I had to go pick it up, and it was something like, I want to say it was 75 bill. Like, it was quite a bit. And I went to collect it, and I was warping back to Jita 4-4. Didn't use an an insta-dock like I should. And as I landed, a Mecharial, who I know quite well, shout out to Firin if he's out there, he got a good bump on me and got me away from the station. Like, I was toast at that point. Like 75 bill in a freighter. I'm now not getting to that Jita undock. Now, I used the mechanic to log off, like you said, which I don't I don't really recommend. I mean, it's not necessarily the most interactive of gameplay, closing the game when you're in a situation like that. But hey, and then I got a scout to watch. He then sacrificed his Machariel to cause the 15-minute timer, which then allows you to, sure, you'll warp off, but then you'll sit there for 15 minutes. So he sacrificed like $1 billion Machariel, I guess. And then I think he lost his pod as well because, Jita Undock, scary place for pods. It was quite an expensive pod. Now, I was able to watch that with an ult. So as my freighter warped off, I logged back in, which then causes me to come back to that same spot, which allowed me to then get away because there's no Machariel there anymore because he sacrificed himself. So that was one of my fun stories. But usually, no, it doesn't work and you'll die.
Yeah. So I know you talked about there's the deep space transports, there's micro warp drive tricks, there's the web or the webbing trick. Now you have to have an alt for this, and from what I understand, so you jump in, you start aligning, and you have your alt web you momentarily as you're spinning up your MWD or your afterburners, something like that. Am I on the right path?
Yeah, basically you get to, I think, like 75% of velocity. You hit the webs and it'll immediately drop you, basically push you to full percent, because the webs will drop your max velocity down to such a point that you're well over your warp speed, and then you'll just shoot off. With freighters, you can end up shooting off sideways in various other directions.
What?
Whatever your destination is.
Yeah,
You look
pretty
like
cool.
you're sideways.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so it'll only work when you start at 0. So if you undock from a station, it won't work unless you get your ship to 0. But on a gate, amazing. And I've definitely done some stupid stuff with freighters and low null, and like you were talking about in wormholes using the web trick. And it is by far one of the best ways, not only to keep your freighter safe, but save time for sure.
Yeah, and I was mentioning in chat about a crazy thing I had done with an Occator where I pretty much always fit some sort of neutralizer or a Nosferatu. I had this one tricked out. I think I was using some implants, and I actually had enough power to be able to run a overpowered afterburner. I had the webs, so I kept getting bubbled as I was cruising through nullsec space, but I'd target this guy, I would start draining his cap, but I would also be burning through the bubbles, and it just like one bubble after another, and I did it for like 2 systems, and I never got caught by him. So what are some like recommended fits like that you could give to a new bro who's starting to pilot into these ships that would maybe help him or her out in some of these situations? And maybe like an Occator or Viator. I don't even know what the other races' ships are.
Yeah, so any of the deep space transports, one of the things that they can fit, which can be useful, is the micro jump drives. So that'll catapult you like 100 kilometers away. So if you can get away from the scrams, it's pretty good. Fitting hardeners, either shield or armor, depending if you're flying Galente, Minmatar, or Ammar Caldari. I think I did that right. Yeah, basically one of them is really good with armor and one of them is really good with shields. Fitting hardeners on that will boost your survivability incredibly. And probably the best part about the deep space transport is there's like a $50,000 cargo hold, or a 50,000 M3 cargo hold that you could just stuff a whole bunch of stuff in.
Yeah, I didn't know that you could fit MJDs on there.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
Was not aware. That'd probably be good. Make sure you write that down, Jared. Train into MJDs, man.
I apparently have a micro jump drive on this current fit that someone gave me. I should have had this on when I tried looting that thing and I died. I learned after the fact.
Yeah, so talk about what. So we'll kind of cover that a little bit in the news, but for some of you who might have been paying attention to social media, Reddit, but I want to say it was yesterday that CCP came out and said that, hey, make sure you're paying attention all week. It's GM week. All our game masters are going to be out there in New Eden. They're going to be doing some stuff. We're not going to tell you what it is, but pay attention to social media and check it out. Well, they announced this morning that at 7 p.m. Eve time that they'd be out. That was somewhere around, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon here in the States. They did a fun little thing where they sent all the people who they suspected of being botters. They transported them using their dev tricks from their nullsec routing system into ULI to where it was essentially a gankathon. And some people got involved with that. Some people like Jared Dale thought he was going to make a quick buck off of that. So what happened?
Well, you see, I didn't know if you looted a wreck in ISEC from like an event that you would blow up.
Yep.
As soon as I opened that cargo and I took like 900 mil in loot, I had a bunch of people lock on me, and like a second later, I'm just blown up. I didn't even have time to turn on my active shields. I just blew up.
Yep. Don't worry, I've made that mistake recently, so don't worry about it. It happens. I did that during the Liberation event. I guess I was thinking that, like, whoa, if your cargo's out there and you're looting the slaves just like I am, and you're gone, I'm gonna take your shit. I was wrong.
Yeah, that was an expensive loss.
Yeah, that's all right, but you live, you learn. That just made me remember I should not do that because you'll get a suspect flag. Well, I saw that I had a suspect flag, but I was like, F it, I'm going to keep going, and I kept going from system to system, so that was my fault. I shouldn't have done that. But yes, for future reference, if you loot somebody's can, you're now a suspect.
Yeah.
Sometimes the risk's worth the reward, though.
Oh, for sure.
When you get away with, like you were saying, 900 million loot. I know you didn't that time, but you're just like, yes. It's pretty fun when you get away with it.
Oh, that is true though. Like, someone just in a chat that they were all suspects. They were suspects. The people that were killed were suspects. So shouldn't the cargo be allowed to be taken?
No. It's because it was in high security space. So I mean, your security setting was probably set to green, I would imagine, and your didn't belong to you or your corporation. So unless you killed that ship, then you can loot their stuff. Unless, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you actually have to be on the kill mail to get that free access.
I should have put a gun on my Arcadia then.
Oh, see, you fucked up. But you've also been learning a little bit about code, Jared. You've heard about these guys, right?
Alright, so funny thing, apparently the first guy I started like doing contracts for was like a member of code, and like a known member of code. And then like a few days later, actually like a week later, I got this dude saying that I need to buy a mining permission thing. I'm like, I don't even mine. Why would I need like a mining permission? And in order to haul across like Niarja and like some other systems, you have to have like a mining certification. I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, the permit.
For like 10 million. Yeah, permit. That's what I'm looking for. Mining permit for 10 million. But I'm probably gonna end up getting blown up anyways, even if I do pay that permit. Because like, how would the other code people know if I'm good or not? So
yeah.
I'm like, hell no.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Whenever I would get into those situations where they'd hold me down for ransom, or if I know I'm going to lose my ship, or I would have said the same thing. Like, I'm not mining. See you later, homie. But I do the same thing. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to lose this ship because you can suck it, nerd.
Yeah, and I think it's a clever role playing thing in the game, though, right? Like, it's, hey, cool, you want 10 mil, give it to you. There's a bunch of rules that regardless of which way you swing the cat, you're probably going to end up breaking, and they're going to kill you anyway. So, hey, it's cool that those people have a place in the game, in their little corner of whatever it is they do in their catalysts. But yeah, I would recommend as a hauler that paying that permit's probably not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. But now, so as far as getting in a jump rating. So now Jared is moving from an Occator. He's now an Obelisk. He's learning how to do his web alt, and then you got the next step of jump freighting. Now, so if you look at an Obelisk or any of the freighters non-jump variant, they only have the 3 low slots. I don't really know what are you looking at when you upgrade into a jump freighter. How is this better?
So
I mean, besides that, it
Is-
jumps.
yeah, I mean, I would say pound for pound, the jump freighter is probably the best ISK per, I guess, hour, if you like, and even probably getting close to best ISK per investment. The DST is probably a better ISK per investment type thing, but it becomes very easy. The cost to run a jump freighter is actually alts more than anything. So you need large collateral usually. You obviously need to spend 10 bill on the hull, and then fuel becomes quite expensive. But it's all about the alts. So having a Sino network is important. Having one tune that you can Sino to is great, but you'll find it very frustrating because you have to wait for the 10-minute burn. Whereas if you have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 accounts, you can then effectively create a network to and from your destination. I found supporting alliances very easy because they have just a set network, right? Like you've got the 4 stations or the 4 citadels, as our friend in Goons probably has. You can just go backward and forward to Amar. Whereas, say with Black Frog, we don't have that network, so we've got to establish the network for each individual job. So the prep time's definitely there, but yeah, I find it much safer than high sec hauling for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always wondered, because you got to figure with big alliances like the Goon Swarm and Circle of Two or NC Dot, they already have their established networks. They already have their established pilots who do that. So, often you'll see in an alliance chat like, "Hey, I'm about to make this jump freight run to Jeddah or so and so. What do you need?" So the thought always comes to me like, how easy is it for guys like Jared to get into the biz?
I mean, was it working? Sorry, Jared, mate. My advice to you would be keep doing what you're doing. Your presence on Reddit is something I wish I'd thought of when I got going. Also, there's the Haulers channel, which is literally Haulers channel. That's a public font for information. I'm sure there's a bunch of scams that come through every now and then, but there's some really good mods that manage it. But that is where I started my first jump freighting stuff, and that is where I learned from a bunch of guys how to jump freight. All about the docking radiuses of stations. And that was before Citadel. Citadel is a whole other sort of setup, if you like. But that's what I would do. I would get your jump freighter when you're ready. Make sure you've got the collateral to splash around, and then get those alts, and then just get someone to teach you. Get someone to hold you by the hand and show you how to do the sinos. And before you know it, you're good. I found, whilst Black Frog is definitely a very, very good ISK to work for, as is Push X and all those sort of guys. Really good rush jobs in Haulers channel or established contracts are great. And whilst, yeah, you're right, alliances have really good setups that are very cheap. Sometimes moving stuff out of those alliances is important for their big ops. Like maybe they need to go store a bunch of, super secret stuff somewhere. And that sort of stuff pays really well. Or, big ops before a weekend, your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Moving stuff for people that need to get their doctrines there for their guys. Again, really good ISK per hour because people's time is valuable, and generally your skill points are rare if you're a good jump freighter pilot.
Yeah, and if you're part of a large alliance or anything like that, there's always people who are trying to seed the markets out there. And if they're Freeport markets, then that's also another way of making this, because you buy stuff at Jeddah, jump freight out there, sell it for a markup, and yeah, you get ISK both ways.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've heard about like after I'm done dropping off a contract, picking up stuff there and just hauling it back to Jeddah and selling it. But I've never gotten around to doing that because I'm usually just popping between contract to contract, going directly to the contract, not going back to Jeddah in between.
Yeah, if you do alliance work, or just if you're part of a big alliance, that's definitely how a lot of these logistics guys make money. You take stuff up one way, and then even if you're empty on the other way, it just means more room for you to bring stuff down and put it on the market.
I swear anything I try to sell on the market just gets nerfed. I'm literally jinxed with trying to sell anything in markets.
Yeah, Goonswarm has a nice tool to see what's selling, what's low on the market. So Goonswarm has an easy time with doing it, more so than other alliances, I would imagine.
Yeah, so speaking of that, that's kind of like one thing that I when I first thought about this and I wanted to get into that was, looking at these market tools where you can see, what's selling where for, a cheap price, and what people are looking for at a higher price. So you're trying to look for that market, that value that you can get somewhere else. And I tried it a few times. I took a Deep Space Transport, and then once I took the Obelisk, and I just filled it up with as much stuff as I could as far as ships and materials, and it ended up not actually being as profitable as I thought. But I mean, again, that was all high sec, so I'm not sure. I'm probably doing it wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if sorry, you go, bro.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, in my experience, I'm no master at it, but I've done it a fair share, and yeah, it's very lucrative, at least in Gunstorm.
Yeah, I had a buddy who was really good at it. He was just good at analyzing the market. He had his own spreadsheets and stuff. I think if you're using, your commercial off the shelf or your public stuff that you can look up on the internet, I think Eve Central used to be really good for it. I'm not sure what the ones in vogue are now. Is there's 10 people, there's 20 people looking at the exact same thing you are. So unless you beat them, you will be beaten, I guess.
Yeah. So what are the things? Because I mainly stay in high sec. What are the things to do? Is look for PvP hubs. If you're trying to sell things on the market, so you just buy stuff at Jita and sell it at a markup at the PvP hub or the mission running hubs, because people are always looking for stuff there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Drones, ammunition, or I used to seed, next to Tama and things like that. So nice and close, low sex. People don't want to go all the way back to Jita, all of those 4 jumps, and it's all about if you can save someone's time, they'll pay you ISK for it. So if you can find that niche, you're good to go.
So probably a good strategy then is to, if you're paying attention to the meta and you're seeing what's going on, there's a big war going on, to start bringing in some of those ships that you see being used a whole lot into those, staging or semi-staging systems. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you could figure out in advance what their fittings are and stuff like that, then you can sell directly to that army.
Yeah, for sure. That's not insider trading, is it? That doesn't sound illegal. That's totally fine.
Well, I mean, everything's fine in Eve, right?
Almost.
One of the things that I want to point out is that there's a thing in real life logistics that also works with Eve, is the less than truckload system, which is basically transporting an empty ship. You don't make any ISK that way, so you always want to have something in your cargo hold, whether you're going from MR to Jita or Jita to MR.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess for those that aren't haulers but want to get stuff moved, that Jita to Amar to Jita, or any of the trade hubs, but those two specifically, if you want to move stuff and you do not care about how long it's going to take, you can really get stuff moved very, very cheaply. And if you can keep it below 60,000 meters cubed, so a DST can run it, it'll happen. If you have to go over, that's fine. But if you've got time, you can charge people pittance, which I shouldn't encourage as a hauler myself, but people will move stuff if you've got plenty of time for next to nothing.
Yeah, and also in high sec is people who are manufacturers. Most of them are too lazy to move the stuff themselves, so they'll just have people. They'll buy it in one of the trade hubs and then set up contracts for somebody to deliver it at their manufacturing spot, and then likely have a contract for their stuff that they've just made to go back to the trade hub.
Yeah. Hey, now, Tupac, just let me know. I know you're running short on time, so just let me know whenever you guys start wrapping it up, and we'll get you out of here, and then we can start moving into other topics. Just let me know.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm happy to. I've got probably 10 minutes up my sleeve, so I'm happy to move on. I'm happy to answer questions. I can't see the stream, so if there is something I need to answer, or you got something for me, mate, I'm here for you.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything. Just Cleveland talking about some stuff, random things. Giving bits for Tupac. No, yeah, Cleveland gave us a bit, and he said that's for you.
I don't even know what a bit is. Like a Bitcoin?
No, it's like a mic. So instead of subscribing, it's just like it's probably costs like 5 cents to give me a bit.
Sweet.
But you can buy like a pack of bits for 100. Which, by the way, so real quick, while it's in my brain, if you are a Amazon Prime member and you have been using linking that with your Twitch for the Twitch Prime or whatever they want to call it, starting in September, your all your fun stuff will remain the same. However, one thing will change. So if you're using Amazon Prime and linking it to Twitch, for now you don't have any advertisements, but starting in September, mid-September, advertisements will be back. You'll still have all the other perks and benefits like the games and stuff, but just keep that in mind. Advertisements are going to go back because they want to charge you $8.99 a month for Twitch Turbo. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
That's awesome.
Fun
But yeah,
fact.
I guess maybe if I do wrap it up, because then you can move on. So I guess like I was saying before, Jared and all the guys that put stuff on Reddit, that is awesome. Like I'm loving reading all of these little guys that are sharing their experiences. It's cool, and I think they should keep it up. And I guess anyone that probably isn't as extroverted and wants to learn about hauling, I would encourage anyone to just mail me in game. Like Two Back Eyes, just flick us a mail and be like, hey, I'm thinking of flying this Bestower Armada Judah with $1 billion inside. Is this a good idea? Or whatever. And
Sure.
I could talk to death about hauling. So yeah, feel free to hit me up in game. Yeah, and if you want stuff hauled, man, Hauler's channel is a great place. And then if you want to splash a bit more, your Push X's, your Red Frogs, and like the other gentlemen here that move stuff. I mean, there are so many options out there. You just got to decide. Do you want it good? Do you want it fast? Do you want it cheap? You pick two of them, and you could probably find the solution pretty quick.
Yeah, and if you ever see me pick up one of your contracts, avoid that at all costs. But yeah, unless you other guys have some thoughts about that, we actually flipped our script this week because I know Tupac needed to be a little bit earlier. He's way over there in Dinosaur Island, so his time zone is different. So I flipped the script. We usually do news up front and then followed by the topic, but we flipped that. But if you guys are good with talking about hauling, we can, also Jared Dale does have the best adverts ever, according to Clevian. So we can switch on over to news if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Good.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you very, very much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming. So yeah, like I mentioned a little bit earlier about that whole thing with the GM week. So we're going to start out with that GM week. So CCP came out and said yesterday that you want to pay attention to social media because they're going to be having this GM thing. So I'll link this article real quick. All right, it is linked. Basically said, on behalf of CCP customer support, I want to welcome you to the GM week. It's been too long since they've actually done shit for the game. It doesn't say that, I'm paraphrasing. But here's some examples of what they'll be up to. A scavenger hunt. They will be hiding a GM or two in various locations throughout New Eden. Hints will be dropped on social media or channels in game. And you have to find these GMs with a pretty stupid name, and you'll get a prize. There's also going to be caravans enlisting the help of a popular streamer. I don't really know who that is yet. Our fitting skills are unmatched or unheard of. I can't remember which. And our path will be littered with wrecks. So that's another thing. They're also going to have a second art competition, as well as a GM competition. A brave GM has been volunteered to drop his old name and take up a new one selected by you, the community. What can possibly go wrong? I've seen that on Reddit. They've been throwing some names out there. I don't know why there hasn't been any like GM-y face or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty interesting stuff. Have you guys seen any other like hints or clues dropped?
I saw someone volunteering my name.
Yeah, see, perfect. You're already
haven't.
winning.
Haven't been following it too closely, so
Yeah, so this is a nice turn of events. Some people were kind of giving the devs flack on Reddit about this, saying, "Oh yeah, it's about time you do something," but maybe fix the game instead of messing around in the game, playing these games. But hey, I think it's a nice turn of events. It's something that we've whether we like to admit it or not, we want to see GM and dev interaction within the world of New Eden. So I found it quite refreshing. I like it. Hopefully they do more stuff like that, especially what they did today, which was, like we said, they took all those suspected botters, and apparently they warned them. They sent out warnings saying, you're suspected as a bot, and we're going to transport you to Ulai. And if they didn't respond, well, guess what? I mean, they're going to Ulai whether they like it or not. So I think it was somewhere around like 4 supers and 4 capital ships that like Hells and what else? So if you go,
I think it was just 3 hells.
yeah, yeah. So if you go to Zkill board and you type in ULI for a search, you can actually see some of those kills on there. You're looking at 64 to 100 billion ISK ships who were apparently botters. Maybe some weren't, maybe some were. I don't know. But if your character is logged in for 23 and a half hours a day in the same system doing the same thing, it's a little suspect. All right, and to top it off, so you guys know what tomorrow is, right? Patch
Tuesday.
day. Yeah, Tuesday, patch day. Tuesday is patch day.
August 21st.
Yeah, it also is that. There's going to be some ship redesigns: a Navitas and a Thalia, a Terra and a Bustard, and a Badger and a Crane. So a couple of these are some of those transporting ships. Now,
I heard some complaints about the Koldaria one. Looks like a block, they said, or something.
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Badger and Crane, and it's very flat.
They're very square, right?
I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's kind of rectangular, but
Yeah.
with the long end along the axis and the shorter end up front. Like a Charon on its side.
Yeah, it does look kind of weird. But so if you go to the link that I just posted, the new the patch notes. These are the patch notes for tomorrow, which is the. I guess we don't do names or anything anymore. It's not even a YC something. It's just August 21st release. It is what it is. But yeah, so they're gonna have that as well as a turret firing graphics effect optimization, specifically for lasers. Let's see, the Navitas, Thalia, Badger Crane, blah, 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 blah. And also an updated NPE experience. Have you guys played any of the stuff on Sissy as far as the updated NPE? I don't know what they're adding. I'm sure it's something not as exciting as we'd like it to be.
No, the extent of my Sissy is of the going on the Sissy server is capital training ops.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so if you look through the patch note, there's quite a few various small tweaks and stuff here. They're also going to be starting tomorrow the new agency event. I'll put the link out for that in a second. So this is going to be the Secrets of the Abyss. So from August 21st, which is tomorrow, to September 4th, which will be the day after Labor Day here in the United States, you can explore Abyssal Dead Space. And you can get yourself your hands on cerebral accelerators, triglavian skins, and mutaplasmids for your ancillary modules, which will only be available during that event. So their little snippet on their page was the Secrets of the Abyss await discovery as a mysterious group have sabotaged Concord's suspect flagging system, leaving the deeper tiers of Abyssal Dead Space open to exploration by all. Taking advantage of the situation, a shadowy group of sponsors exploration and experimentation, offering the most exclusive and attractive rewards for any pilots who can complete their objectives. Completing the varied challenges in this limited time event is the only way to get these amazing rewards, such as the unique and exclusive armor repair and shield booster mutaplasmids, as well as exclusive Singularity Storm skins. So if a few weeks back I actually showed a little clip of those Singularity Storm skins for the trig ships, and they are wicked sick. Like, it actually has like electricity, kind of flowing off the sides of it and out of the back of like the nacelles and whatever. So it's pretty rad. Have you guys seen those?
No, sorry.
Oh, they are pretty rad. Yeah, that's actually one of the few reasons I actually go on to Sissy, so I can look at those fun things. Let's see. Well, what else? Oh, you know what happened this weekend that I definitely did not watch because I kind of got bored of the Alliance tournaments. But
The finals
yeah,
today, too. Yes.
yeah, there was that whole finals thing. I guess that happened. So Vidra Reloaded is the winner of the ATXV ATXVI, so that's number 16. They won a lot of cool stuff as far as Triglavian special hulls for the Triglavian ships, a lot of skins, Plex and whatnot. So congratulations to Vidra Reloaded for a victory using ECMs, because ECMs are the new meta, I guess.
Those dudes got like 5 trillion in ships. That's crazy.
At least. But yeah, so that kind of rounds up the news. What do you guys have any other thoughts on the news and whatnot? Not a whole lot has happened. I don't know what's going on at EVE Online because I've been busy with IRL, so I don't know as far as the war goes.
Yeah, most of the stuff is coming closer to winter, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
soon.
I need to hibernate, man. I'm so tired of EVE right now. I gotta sleep. I want to sleep for like 9 months. Is that okay?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I think then we can start starting to wrap it up. It'll be kind of a short show. Not our typical, but I know it's late where some of you guys are, and so we'll start wrapping it up with some last minute thoughts. Is there any advice that we could still throw at Jared or some other new players who might be thinking about getting to hauling?
Keep your little bubble thing on green. Don't put it to yellow or red.
Oh,
Your safety.
the safety
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah,
A little bubble.
if you're hauling a jump freighter to Jeddah, the best advice I can give you is when you jump into the low sec high sec border, when you undock, only align until you're, and then once you're full aligned, then hit the warp button. Too many people, including some corp mates that will not be mentioned, have hit the warp button instantly from undocking, and then a super carrier will come in and zonk you before you can dock up because you hit the warp button instead of aligning. There's that delay. You have to hit control space and everything. So fully align, then hit the warp to the high sec gate is best advice I can give you.
Yeah.
And if there's a if you see a gank, if you don't have a scout and you jump into a gank, you wait for the 60 seconds to roll off, and you try to jump out right at that 60-second mark when the top left circle goes down.
I'm actually curious. Apostic Fire in the Twitch chat says that he's concorded himself by accident against his own alt by doing that. That's really interesting. I'd like to know more about that. That sounds fun. That sounds like something I would do. All right, but yeah. So from there, I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping it up with some shout outs. If you want to give a quick little shout to somebody, and then before I give my shout outs, I'll talk a little bit about some EVE happenings, some EVE meets. So let's go from the bottom, Jared Dale, if you want to give some last minute shout outs or some thoughts.
Shout out to my dog that like scratched to get out of my room. And my Twitch TV/Jared Dale hauling if y'all want to see me haul y'all stuff.
Yeah, and also JDH is your in-game channel, right?
Yeah, JDH, 3 letters.
Right on. Yeah, so that's actually how I tried to find you, because Reddit was working out, so I had to jump into your chat. I know you had that chat channel, JDH. So yeah, check you out, man. You're blowing up on Reddit. You're doing some great things, and people are paying attention to what you're doing. And it's always good to see new players kind of rise up from all the tomfoolery that is EVE Online. All right, Daniel, what about you, man? Some last minute thoughts and shout outs.
I just want to say thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Look forward to being on sometime in the future. And for anyone looking to join Goonswarm Federation, have a look at Shadow State, the premier corp in Goonswarm Federation.
All right. And Jenna, how about yourself?
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm on Twitter at Norconna Trade, and also occasionally do Twitch streams, though not that often, at /EveSojic.
All right. Okay, so the story is from Apostic Fire. He said he was multi-boxing in a site. He had his safeties off, forgot about it. He got crazy and locked onto one of his own alts by accident and fired, which ended up being concorded by himself, from himself in Macarial. So, interesting. Very interesting. Maybe local was broken. All right, but hey, I guess I should have asked Tupac before he left, but there's a Melbourne, Australia meet on the 25th of August. So if you happen to be down his way and you want to meet up with him, maybe he's there, maybe he's not. But in South Wharf, Victoria, Australia, they are having a meetup at the Boat Builders Yard, which is at the Wharf Promenade there in South Wharf. Which should be fun. Also in Providence, Rhode Island. Does anybody actually live in Rhode Island? I don't know, but if you're in Warwick, Rhode Island, but I'm sure if you're anywhere in Rhode Island, that's 15 minutes away. Am I right? But you can also check them out at NEONRI, so neonri.com, where they have their retrofuturism love letter. That's really weird. But yeah, they're having a meet for EVE Online there, as well as the monthly Houston meetups also on the 25th. And then at the end of the month, the 31st, is the EVE Dublin meet. So, like I said, if you're not familiar with evemeet.net, check them out. They have plenty of meetups, and if there's not a meet where you're living at, you can go ahead and click on the fourth button from to the right. It says create, and you can create a little fun meet in your area. I have done so myself. It's fun to do, to meet up with some people in your area, so make sure you're doing that. All right, and then as far as shout-outs for myself, next week is episode number 100. So if you see there at the bottom left, it says episode 99 tonight. That means next week is going to be episode 100, which actually puts us at a little over 2 years, because we've skipped a few weeks here and there because of scheduling conflicts or me being in that crazy place called Afghanistan or whatever. So it will be 2 years, episode 100. We're just going to hang out, talk about whatever, what we've done in EVE, what our future is, what we plan on doing for the rest of the year, and just kind of like just a chill, relaxed thing. There's not going to be a set schedule, so all of you guys are welcome to come on and join us again, and pretty much anyone. We're just going to do a free-for-all hanging out. But other than that, so from myself, Jared and Daniel, fucking Craig, and Jenna, thank you for listening to episode 99 of the Mind Clash podcast, and we hope to see you next week for episode 100. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Laters.
Peace.